Hi, everyone. My name is Meron. I'm trained in neuroscience, and I run a neurotechnology company. We build a very tiny brain-computer interface for the largest chronic disorder on the planet, which is, of course, depression, and later on other disorders as well. So today I'm going to walk you through the entire story in about 5 or 6 minutes. First, we're going to learn about the market of depression, which I'm sure a lot of you know about, then what depression really is, the modern understanding of the science of depression, and then how we've been treating depression and what the future is. We're going to do this with holograms, so bear with us. We'll have a cool little explanatory flow. So, depression, starting with the numbers. As you can see over here in my weatherman report, hypertension was, of course, the largest chronic disorder with 60 million users in the US. Depression was a close second with 40, and that has doubled during the pandemic. So it's now closer to 70 or 80 million in the US, which is an incredibly large number. So we're going to next go into what depression is. And I'm sure you've all heard of this concept that depression is a chemical imbalance. This has been disproved in the last really year or two in a number of studies. So what is depression? Well, it turns out that depression is the imbalance of two key brain networks. The first network, called the default mode network, is the network that is used to process your inner world. So for example, if you go through a trauma, you get hit by a car, God forbid, then you'll have that memory encoded in your inner world network. Remember, everything from the inside world is encoded by the default mode network. Then you'll have this rumination phase, which is the voice that goes in your head that goes over and over how you could avert that trauma in the future. Oh, that bastard that cut me off in traffic. That's the kind of thing that just gets stronger and stronger. And in the hologram of the brain over here, you can see it's getting faster and faster and taking more resources from the brain, from the second unsung hero of the brain, which is called the cognitive control network. CCN is the network of the outside world. You're all using it now to focus on me. You use it to focus on a good conversation with your loved ones, on a walk on the beach. All the good things in our lives come from the outside world as well. And in depression, this gets impacted. This is lowered. And the prefrontal cortical resources from the default mode, the first network, take it from this network. So what is a healthy brain? The mystics told us 3,000 years ago, the healthy, and neuroscience is just catching up. Healthy brain is a balanced brain where the amount of time you're in your inner world network, default mode, is roughly the same as your outer world network, cognitive control network. So what is a depressed brain? Of course, where your rumination, inner world default mode is too strong, cognitive control too low, and we're essentially stuck inside of our heads. That's really the modern understanding of depression. So now we understand how it works. Let's understand what we've been using over the last 70 years to treat depression in about 1.5 minutes of holograms. First, the most widely prescribed and used solution is, of course, antidepressants. Antidepressants blast the whole brain with neurotransmitters in order to hit this one specific default mode network. What that does, of course, is it creates some of the worst side effects in the industry: suicidality when we switch cocktails, mental fog, fatigue, libido loss if we're one of 50% of men, and all of this for a 20% efficacy near placebo. So the antidepressants is the first one. The second one is electric shock therapy. If you are one of the 1/3 most severe depressed patients, there's about 100 million of them, drugs don't work because of the problems I just described. So you need the heavy cavalry. Heavy cavalry electric shock therapy induces a seizure in your mind, a control seizure, that essentially it's like pressing the reset button, the force reset button on your computer, and these networks come back into balance. It's a 100-year-old technology, and it comes riddled with a lot of side effects that we all know of. Amnesia, personality changes that are persisting, and that's why transcranial magnetic stimulation was born. TMS, a refrigerator-sized device, is hitting a specific part of the brain that's a little bit more focal, still not very high resolution, and the key that held it back from success is the compliance problem. Patients need to go to the doctor 20 or 30 days in a row in order to get a modest efficacy. For a depressed patient that can often not motivate themselves to get out of bed in the morning, this is a tall order. The compliance problem really held this industry back for the 30-year-old technology of transcranial magnetic stimulation. So, and that's the reason why both TMS and ECT for treatment-resistant 100 million patient only are used by 0.5% of the market. In other words, 99.5% of the market is untreated, and this is the most debilitating disorder on the planet per the World Health Organization. So, what did we do about this? I collected Dr. Eric Luthart, essentially some of the leaders in this space. Eric is a pioneer of laser neurosurgery, a modern way of treating glioblastoma. Ed Boyden is one of the most famous neuroscientists in the world from MIT. Dr. Darren Doherty, who is a leading psychiatrist in this space, he implanted about 70 human patients with depression stimulators over the course of his career, more than anyone that I know of over the last 15 years. And we came together and we asked ourselves the following question. How is it that we are using horse and buggy era tech, 100-year-old technology, when there are Teslas roaming the street? So we decided we were going to create the Tesla of the mind, the absolute most modern and precise way of treating depression using all the latest technology we could muster. So this is called the digital pill. Digital pill is slipped under the skin in a 30-minute outpatient procedure and provides the functionality of similar to transcranial magnetic stimulation, but to go, solving the compliance problem. In other words, it is 10 times more precise than any of the other technologies I described, and that's the first of 3 key differentiating factors. The second is that we not only stimulate the brain, those other 3 technologies blast the brain without even knowing if they're working. We can also read from the brain, creating the very first mood and attention and depression graphs that are accurate on your iPhone. So you can actually have the psychiatrist view an accurate representation of your mood at any given point. So we send data up to the cloud. And the last feature I want to share with you, the one that I'm most excited about, is the one that's going to, in my opinion, disrupt the psychiatric industry. This pod that you're seeing to power the device is right over the hair, and you only have to put it on for 20 minutes a day while it's powering it, getting the data and sending it up to the cloud to your psychiatrist. Your psychiatrist then gets to see your charts asynchronously. They don't need to actually have meetings with their patients because they're getting much more accurate data, and they could see many more patients. This is the world we live in today. If I have depression, I have to go to my doctor, take off the day from work or school, get my piece of paper. Take that piece of paper to CVS. Get this 70-year-old drug, 50 to 70-year-old, depending on what we're using in that particular instance. If I'm one of 50% of men, I'll have libido loss, and I'll have a 6-week cycle before I even know if it works. I will probably end up repeating this at least once more. This, in my opinion, is the most widely used old and bad technology that needs to be replaced in the world. It is so prevalent. There's over 140 million Americans that use attention or depression drugs in this kind of way. Contrast this, of course, with 30-minute outpatient procedure. I go to the doctor once, never have to go back again, and for the rest of my life, my depression is treated and managed on my phone remotely by a psychiatrist that's sending me into this digital pill, the latest and greatest FDA-approved prescriptions, and getting a billable event for it. We think this is going to be an incredibly powerful proposition, mostly for the patient, as somebody who's going to save these large cycles, and also for the psychiatrist. So that's it. We want to make a big impact on the largest chronic disorder on the planet, and we're really, really thankful for the opportunity to talk to you today with the digital pill. Have a wonderful day.